There will be no human future on this planet unless we get our act together. This quote was taken from the CNN News website from an article that was copyrighted in 2012. This article is stating the current water crisis in the world that is happening today. Water is a necessary resource we use every single day of our lives. We use water today by brushing our teeth, taking a shower, and eating food that water was used to produce. The World Water Council's use of public service announcements will aware the public of how to use water conservation techniques. First, we will discuss the problem of the water crisis, and second, explore a solution to the problem. The problem is that the world is running out of safe drinking water. This problem is evident worldwide. Taken from an article from the WaterAid America website, copyrighted in 2012, Ruby from Bangladesh spends 2 hours every single day walking to the nearest stream, and this water is used to supply water for her family. Also, Betty from Sierra Leone suffers from excessive diarrhea because her only source of water is a sewage pond. All of us have probably heard these kinds of scenarios from people who live in undeveloped countries who don't have access to safe drinking water. But this problem is also evident here in the United States. Taken from an article from the CBC News website, copyrighted in 2010, Lake Mead, which is located right next to Las Vegas, has lost more than half of its water capacity since 1998. Also in Orme, Tennessee, citizens had to start rationing their water use by collecting water for a few hours every single day. This problem is extremely significant. It is significant because the overall freshwater capacity is exponentially small. According to the How Stuff Works website, from an article copyrighted in 2012, Earth is 70% water, but only 1% of that water supply is free and fresh. That 1% of water needs to sustain the 7 billion people living here on Earth. This is significant because all of that supply from that 1% of water is limited. We cannot refill lakes, rivers, and groundwater. They will all eventually run out. It is also significant because this problem affects everyone here living on Earth. According to the CBC News article, 80 countries today now suffer from water shortages, including here in the United States. And in the United States alone, 36 states face water shortages today. This problem is extremely harmful. First of all, without water, people will die. According to the How Stuff Works article, water is the most vital natural resource in the world. It sustains all of our human activities and we need it to survive. This is harmful because when the water sources start running out, people then don't have access to those safe water sources. In fact, according to an article from the World Water Council website, copyrighted in 2010, 2 billion people in the world do not have access to safe drinking water. 2 billion out of the 7 billion people on Earth. That's like saying that 4 of us in this classroom alone would not have access to safe drinking water. This is extremely harmful because when people don't have access to safe drinking water, they then have to drink from an unsanitary source. The aforementioned source goes on to say that when people drink from unsanitary sources, they then suffer from waterborne diseases. In fact, 3,900 children die every single day from waterborne diseases. So, to put that in perspective, the 4 people in this classroom that wouldn't have access to safe drinking water would then suffer from a waterborne disease and would die from that. And on a personal note, I have been in Africa last year. I suffered from a waterborne disease because I personally drank from an unsanitary source. It is not fun. And I've also seen firsthand the harms of what people go through when they don't have access to safe drinking water. People are dying, they have malaria. I see people die firsthand. This is a problem that needs to be solved. This will be solved by having the World Water Council create public service announcements that will aware the public of how to use water conservation techniques. They will educate the public of how to use water conservation techniques. They will do this by creating public service announcements. These announcements will be televised and shown on adult television programs weekly. These programs will also show the public different ways of how to conserve water. This plan is extremely practical. The World Water Council is a well-known agency today. It's already set up, and it also is composed of highly trained scientists. These scientists also specialize in promoting ways in how to conserve water and how to promote ways of awareness to the water crisis. Also, many Americans watch television today. The parents will then show their children and teach their children how to use these water conservation techniques. And also, the water conservation techniques are extremely easy. For example, we can learn how to take 5-minute showers, not have the water run when we were brushing our teeth, and finally, we can have buckets of water laid out in our lawn, have the rainwater go in them, and use those buckets to provide water for our lawns, our flowers, and our crops instead of using hose water. This will ultimately have a desirable outcome. The public's use of fresh water will stop decreasing, and this will ultimately have the supply of fresh water stop exponentially decreasing. However, this is not going to solve the problem by itself, but by starting here in the United States, it is a small step in the right direction. By starting here with all of us using these water conservation techniques, we can then trigger other organizations from in the United States, other countries, and have them help stop the water crisis with us. The world water crisis is a huge problem that has many negative effects worldwide. This will be solved by having the World Water Council use public service announcements to teach the public how to use water conservation techniques. The World Water Council's use of public service announcements will aware the public of conservation techniques. So, here we are. If each and every one of us acts today, we will be able to not have the harms of the water crisis and be able to live out our futures like we have always planned.